Hi there, welcome to another video. Today we're gonna answer a question that we get asked often here in the store. And the question we get asked is, how do I get into World War II gaming? To be honest, after a lot of my gamers have dabbled into gaming in the grim dark future, doing a lot of fantasy, doing a lot of science fiction, they usually wonder what else is out there. And the natural progression for anybody who is doing miniatures is to investigate what's happening in the historical world. Of course, most of my customers are younger, so they're very, very curious about what's going on, especially in the historical world. For those of you guys who are veterans, who've done historicals for quite a long while, all this information I'm going to tell you is probably going to seem redundant, but if you have anything else to add, do add some info in the comment section. This could help a newbie get into the hobby and increase the size of the local historical community. So the question is, how do I get into World War II gaming? World War II gaming is actually one of the most popular historical genres or periods to game. One is because I think it's something that's ingrained in pop culture, and it's something a lot of my players understand, or younger guys understand, because there are lots of movies based on this. So what I usually do is I ask them what they are comfortable with. Do they want to just play, or are they looking for historical accuracy? For a lot of younger gamers, they just want to play. They just want to have a good time. They want to roll some dice. They want to have something that's a bit different to what they usually paint, what they usually game, and they want something that I want to say legitimizes what they do, but I think it's another frontier for them to investigate. So I tell them that there are a few different kinds of scales, because while a lot of fantasy predominantly is a particular scale, I start off by immediately breaking them down to which scale they're more comfortable with. And the three scales we have in wargaming, the more popular scales are the 50mm scale, the 20mm scale, and the 28mm scale. The 50mm scale is smaller and usually involves larger army actions. The 20mm scale is in between 28 and 15, whereas 28 is more skirmish, is more platoon size, is more squad size actions. 28 can be a little bit more army based and a little bit more skirmish, simply because of the size. Also, it's dependent upon how big your table is. I usually also investigate if the player or the new guy coming into the hobby, especially a World War II gaming hobby, whether he wants to play a more skirmish game, he wants to have a grand army kind of feel he's gaming. Actually, a really good YouTube video on scale was done by Mel, the terrain tutor, and the link to his video is up in the corner or in the description. Do check it out so you know all the different scales. But just as an added, I've done a video, a very short showcase of what the different scales look like. And as you can see here, this is the 15mm scale. This is the 50mm Churchill from Battlefront's Flames of War game. Flames of War is actually one of the most popular 50mm rule sets out there. I think it's because one of the reasons why I really like Flames of War is because they actually have the figure range, from the more common Shermans to the more uncommon bishops and stuff like that. So when I was initially interested in Battlefront, I like the fact that they had a huge range of armor, huge range of different figures for you to choose from. Now here we have a look at 20mm Hasegawa scale model. Now here's where I need to mention that most of the 20mm gaming is done by the slightly older crowd, and this is no surprise, because back in the day, a lot of World War II miniatures were made by Affix, were made by Italeri, I think I'm not mistaken, and they were all 20mm. So you had 20mm plastic kits to buy. So back in the day, a lot of the older gamers who were young at the time would would amass huge armies of 20mm miniatures for them to play with. The biggest problem with 20mm for me is the fact that not all rangers have a huge range of different armor and different miniatures, and it's because of this sometimes I find 20mm to be a little bit limiting. Of course, there are manufacturers that do metals, but at the moment I'm just concentrating on all the miniature manufacturers that are easily available for purchase. So you don't even have to go out and like get yourself a very specialized magazine for wargaming, like Wargames Illustrated or something like that. The next scale I'm going to have a look at is 28mm, and this one is popular simply because it's bigger, and in terms of size, it's similar to more conventional science fiction and fantasy wargaming. Because of this, when I show a new player a 28mm figure, they pick it up and there's a sense of familiarity. For us here in the store, 28mm seems to be the more popular option, simply because of, well, the ease of painting. I know some people say that 15mm is easy to paint, but I think when you are moving away from 28mm fantasy or sci-fi, it's something that's not so strange for you to try. Which brings me to how I get most of my players into World War II gaming. This is just the way I do it. I'm sure there are other stores out there and there are other opinions on how they get new players into World War II gaming, but this is how I do it. So the first thing I do is I get them into Operation Squad. Now the reason I like this rule set is because it just uses 10-15 figures, and that's a great target for somebody who's just starting to paint. What that basically means is you can actually get the new players to get maybe a starter set of like 24 figures. Warlord Games does this 24 figures or something like that, and you can break up the unit into two, and you can already start painting towards a smaller goal, 10 figures, 15 figures. And when they do that, they're already painting within, I think, like a week or 2 weeks. They already have the figures on the table, and they already start getting a feel for moving around World War II figures. Operation Squad is, I'm not so sure whether they're still in print, but I have a copy in the store simply because it's just the easiest way to gateway into the larger World War II gaming. The biggest criticism for Operation Squad is the fact that it's got a lot of record keeping, but usually when I'm teaching the rule set, I'm usually like refereeing it, so yeah, I get that out of the way. But yeah, it's easy, it's simple, it's got a low miniature count. It's just that, yeah, it's a lot of record keeping. After that, I try to get the boys to shoot towards getting some bolt action in. Bolt action is fun, it's quick, it's it's easily available. Warlord Games has done a lot to make wargaming very easily available. It also moves up the figure count from 10 to about 20-30 figures, and also you start using tanks in this one. After that, if they want to take it a little bit step further, I try even more bigger rule sets, like rules of engagement perhaps, or after this point they probably know what they want to get into and they move on towards it. The thing with for me getting people into World War II gaming, especially here, because we are here in Malaysia, and well, there's not much of a war gaming culture here yet. So I usually try to ease folks into World War II gaming, and that's pretty much how I do it here. And that pretty much, I hope that answers, scratches the itch of curiosity for those who are interested to know how to get into World War II gaming. Again, choose your scale, choose a rule set. If you want me to run down rule sets, leave a comment, and I'll just go through all the rule sets that are available that I've actually tried and actually have not tried and curious about. And like I said, at the end of the day, you want to have a good time. The biggest problem with a lot of in-store gaming is there's a balance between being realistic and being fun. Speak to your local game store, and they'll probably tell you. Oh, speak to your local war games group. They'll probably help you find the war game that works for you. Yep, and that's pretty much it. And that, folks, is my 2 dice worth.